to Out of State DMing podcast. I'm your host, lluksblackheart. Both my co-hosts won't be available today. They had some important things come up, so sorry about the minor inconvenience. But we're going to cover 5th level spells today. Well, 5th level cleric spells. As you can see, there's not necessarily a lot of them for some of the other ones, but there's still plenty of 5th level spells here, and a lot of them are pretty good. The first one is Atonement, which removes burdens of misdeeds from the subject. So, like alignment infractions, you doing something really, really bad. It doesn't save you from like the law, but it saves you from certain cosmic randomness. Like if your god's upset with you, you can get atonement, and that can help you with that. Next is Break Enchantment. This is kind of like the bigger version of the spell. It goes after enchantments, alterations, curses, and petrification. So it covers a lot of things, and it's a really good, just there, now that's bothering you spell. Then there's Greater Command, which is like command but greater, so you can affect a number of subjects equal to your level. It still functions as command, it's just the more people. Commune, which is the actual, just like with several of the other spells we covered last week that give you a yes or a no if a certain action is a good idea or not. Commune is the actual one that your god will actually answer yes or no questions for you. So it's not just, is this action good or bad? You can directly go, is this where the lich is? Why are you mad at so-and-so? What caused this? You can actually, well, not necessarily what caused this. It has to be yes or no question. So you like, is this the reason for this? Is that theirs? This person here? Does this do this? So it's yes or so it actually get answer yes or no. No. You get access to your first mass spell, which is Mass Cure Light Wounds. It works just like normal light wounds, but the cap on the bonus is a lot higher. So it's still a die 8 with the +1 per level, but it's just instead of capping at 5, I think it's, well, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it still has no real cap. It's quite big, and you can hit multiple people with it instead of just a single person. So it helps with healing the group instead of just one big spell on this person, one big spell on that person. It's here's this spell, and you rolls this. Okay, you all get this amount. Dispel, the first dispel alignment based things. Dispel chaos /evil/good/law, just like with the detect alignment, where you have to choose one of the ones when you prep it. This is the same thing. So if you have dispel chaos, it doesn't let you swap the chaos part out automatically for good or law or evil. It's just dispel chaos, and it gives you a bonus against those things. The exact bonuses we'll be covering when we get to the spell itself. Sometimes the little spell description doesn't actually answer the question. It tells you you get a +4 against a +4 against attacks, but doesn't actually specify what the +4 is going for, so you have to look up the spell itself. Then we have Disrupting Weapon, which melee weapons destroys undead. So it's kind of like a ability to get a one-shot to just get rid of undead. Then there's Flame Strike, which is a nice AoE fire spell that does a die 6 per caster level to a max, I think, of like 10, but it's still like, it's like a cleric's version of a fireball. Hollow, which designates location as a holy spot. So it's kind of like the better version of concentrate. We'll consecrate. Inflict light wounds mass. So it's just like with cure light wounds mass, but it's the inflict version, so you can damage things with it. So that's real good to hurt mass amounts of enemies. Then there's insect plague, which locust swarms attack creatures. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have to be locust, but we can cover that when we go over the spell itself. Mark of Justice designates actions that will trigger a curse on subject. So it's kind of like, if this action does this, whoever did that action now has this consequence. So it's not necessarily that bad of a spell. It's just whatever the action designated, it's boom. Plane Shift, which lets you, as many as 8 subjects to travel to another plane. So if you want to visit the plane of fire, I don't recommend it because it's fire everywhere. You could go to the plane of fire with it and bring the entire party with you. If you want to go to the plane of shadows, the ethereal plane, the clockwork planes of Nirvana, you can teleport to that plane. As long as there's nothing stopping plane or travel, you can go to that other plane. Raise Dead. This spell gets confused with a create undead spell, but it doesn't create undead. What it does is it restores life to a subject who's died, as long as up to 1 day per your castle level hasn't passed since they died. So if you're level 5, you can wait up to 5 days before you, you have pretty much a 5-day window to cast it on them, because after 5 days, you can't restore their life anymore. So it's like a weaker version of resurrection, or this is like your first access to actual resurrection magic. Righteous Might. Your size increases and you gain combat bonuses. This is a self-only spell, and it's pretty much, I want to be a beefcake cleric for this fight, Righteous Might, and you walk forward and start poning bad guys because your size increases, and it gives you all sorts of other bonuses. So it's a really good buff spell. Make people scream Hercules, Hercules as you go poning bad guys. Clerics do get access to scrying, which a lot of people in my experience have tried to argue against it. It's like, you can't scry, you're a cleric. It's like 5th level cleric spell, scrying. There's a lot of people go, no, that's a wizard / sorcerer spell, but it's right there. You can see it, as I don't know what I just pushed. Yeah. So that's you spy on subject from a distance. Here's an evil spell, Slay Living. You get a touch attack that has a chance to kill the subject. If they pass the saving throw, they just take a lot of damage, which if it does enough damage to them, it still ends up killing them. So it's kind of like a win-win. They either flat out die or just boom. The limitations we'll go over when Slay Living when we go over the spell itself. Spell resistance. This is good because the subject, which could be you or anyone you cast it on, gains a spell resistance of 12 plus your cast level. So if you're level 10 and you slap this on someone, they now have an SR of 22. For those who aren't familiar with spell resistance, there is a lot of spells that don't bypass spell resistance. What that means is whenever you cast that spell on a person that has spell resistance, you have to do a caster level check or the spell auto fails. So since a level 10 cleric casting this on someone gives them 122, anytime a spell or a spell-like effect would be cast upon that person you gave the SR22 to, the person casting it has to roll a d20, add their caster level to it. and it has to beat that 22. If it doesn't beat the 22, the spell auto fails, which means they're scot-free. The spell just doesn't work on them. It's technically not a spell immunity or immunity to whatever you're doing. What it is whether or not a spell does or does not work. That's all spell resistance is. This is pretty simple. Just beat the number. Next, Summon Monster 5, which works just like all the other summon monsters, but it's level 5. Symbol of Pain. Trigger rune wreaks havoc. Wreaks havoc nearby creatures with pain. So it's a real good way to incapacitate or extremely hinder those that trigger the symbol of pain. Symbol of Sleep does a similar thing, but it puts them in a tanacotic slumber. So it's like a real deep sleep. True Seeing. This spell is pretty broken because what it does is it lets you see all things as they really are. Meaning, if there's a red dragon that used its draconic ability to look like a person and they're walking through town, if you have True Seeing active, you see a red dragon walking through town. Not necessarily a giant full-grown one, but the person that's standing there walking through town that you're staring at is in the shape of a dragon because you see them for what they really are, a dragon. If there's a drow using polymorph spell in itself to look like a normal elf to blend in, you can go, oh, that's a drow because I can see it's a drow. It does not bypass makeup. That's like another thing. It bypasses any and all supernatural, magical, or extraplanar means of not being what you are. So, like, if you would put on a wig, makeup, a fake nose, and stuff, like a woman trying to look like a man, True Seeing doesn't go, that's a woman, because there's no magic concealing it. It's using actual makeup and stuff, the disguise skill to do it. So it does not counter that. It only actually counters magical things. So that's a somewhat misconception that a lot of people have with it. Then we have Unhallowed. Works just like works just like Hallowed, but it's now an unholy site instead of a holy site. So a lot of bad guys or evil deities have unhallowed ground where their temples and stuff are. So bad places. Dun dun dun. Then we have Wall of Stone. Wall of Stone is great because it's a permanent wall that you create. You can put some archways in it, some arrow slits, so you can build a legit wall. The only thing is, you need stone already present for it to grow off of. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a huge slab of stone. You can go, okay, here's a stone rock, or I just carry around a slab of stone with you, put it on the ground, and boom, it now grows out of that because you have the stone it grows out of. And it becomes a permanent structure wherever you put it. So it's a real great way to protect an area because you're like free wall, basically. Unless you charge whatever owns that area for casting of the spell, but it's still nonetheless cheaper and quicker than building an actual stone wall, because now you get an actual stone wall that just within 6 seconds it forms around the area. That's it for the 5th level spells. We can cover 6th level, which we do have Animate Objects, which objects attack your foes. It's commonly used on like mannequins or statues. So that way they animate, run around, and pimp slap some people. Anti-Life Shell. It's a 10-foot radius that hedges out living creatures. So it's a real great way to keep your party from not getting too close to you, or if you're fighting a bunch of creatures you know you can't really beat, but you know that anti-life shell is strong enough to keep them away from you. Unless they have ranged attacks, they can't get within 10 feet, which for the most part means they can't hit you. Because they can't get within that distance of you. Banishment. Banishment works on creatures of hit die equal to or less than twice your level. So you can literally banish demons, devils, archons, planars, angels, celestials, fiends, and stuff. Anything not from the material plane, you can just be gone and send it away. As long as High Saint, as long as you have the corresponding hit points, you can pretty much, in a huge scale, just get rid of a lot of creatures that way. And it's a great way to just mess with creatures too, because nothing says I win like banishing them. Then you have Mass Bear's Endurance, which works just like Bear's Endurance, but you can target multiple people with it, so it's really good. So everyone gets a con boost, not just one person. Blade Barrier creates a wall of blades that deal a die 6 per level in damage. And it's one of those, it's a wall, so anything trying to pass through it takes that damage. So it can be really effective. Don't get too close to me or this area, because you're going to end up just poning them with that wall. Mass Bull Strength. Just like with Mass Bear's Endurance, it increases the strength of everyone that it gets hit, but instead of a single target, it's now multiple targets. So it's just like with any mass versions of a spell, it's naturally better. Create Undead. This lets you create ghouls, ghast, mummies, or mogs, which are, if I believe, another form of well, no, I can't. I would when I start covering monsters, we'll go over it. But it's a decent monster. So it's, instead of just being stuck with like skeletons and zombies, you can actually create some more powerful and somewhat intelligent undead. Mass Cure Moderate Wounds, and there's also Mass Inflict Moderate Wounds, so you can heal a lot of people with one spell or damage them, so that's great. Greater Dispel Magic. It lets you dispel magical effects, but instead of having a cap of plus 10, you have a cap of plus 20. And what that means is your caster level is used in your modifier. With normal Dispel, like we covered in a previous episode, it only goes to plus 10, while Greater lets you go to plus 20. A lot of people confuse it in thinking they get plus 20 on the check, but it actually is somewhere between your level and 20, not a plus 20. So it's another read the spell before actually casting it. Mass Eagle Splendor, which, just like with Bear's Endurance of Bull Strength, it's everyone gets this bonus, not just one. Find the Path. I love Find the Path, because as long as you actually cast it to go to a actual location, you get like the most direct route to that location. Not a round and about route, the most direct route. So if like you have a route that that says it's going to take you like a year to get somewhere, you cast this spell and the spell goes, oh no, if you go this way, you'll get there in a lot less time because it's not all roundabout, so it can actually save you time. The problem is, it's the most direct route. If you're trying to avoid certain obstacles, like a forest full of sylvan elves that will porcupine you the moment you cross into their forest, and that's directly in the most direct way to get to where you're going, well, find the path isn't going to help you because you don't want to go through that forest because you don't want to get lit up like a Christmas tree. So it can be extremely helpful, but only if you're not trying to avoid certain things, like marshes, swamps, bogs, a mountain. But it's still a really good spell. Then there's Forbiddens, which blocks planar travel, damages creatures of a different alignment. So you can literally stop things from coming and going from your location if it's using planar stuff. And depending on alignment stuff, it takes damage. So it's a good hitter. You can stop the creature from getting away and easily defeat it because of bonus damage. Then we have Geese/Quests. It's just like with Lesser Geese, but it affects any creature, so it's not really limited on anything. It doesn't have the same limitations as normal Geese. So you have that going for you right there, and it's a good spell to force players to do things because you've been geezed. Enjoy this quest. Great way to keep on track because there's penalties for not completing the geese or attempting to complete the geese. Next is Greater Glyph of Warding, which just says normal Glyph of Warding, but it does up to 10 die 8. Up to, which I think it's a die 8 per caster level. So it can do a lot more damage. Or it has stored a 6th level spell, because it says or 6th level spell. We'll get into what the parameters of that when we cover the actual spell itself in a later episode. But boom. Now, the next two spells are probably my favorite two spells when it comes to clerical shenanigans. And it's Harm and Heal. They pretty much do the same thing, but Harm is negative energy, Heal is positive energy. What Harm does is it does 10 damage per caster level to a max of 150 to whoever you touch. If you cast it on an undead, you're healing them by that, because it's negative energy heals negative energy creatures instead of damaging them, because negative energy damages positive energy, just how positive energy heals positive energy creatures like the living, and hurts negative energy creatures like the dead. Heal does the same 10 points per level to max of 150, but it also gets rid of all diseases and mental conditions, and they can fix all stats damage. So if your character has multiple diseases, multiple conditions, major stat damage, and stuff like that, someone hits them with a heal, you're fully recovered. It's a catch-all for curing things. Not to mention the fact that it does a lot of damage for undead, because pass or fail, they're taking a lot of damage. It's either 5 per level or 10 per level. So at level 15, which is where you do the maximum amount of effect, which is 150, they're taking 75 or 150, which either way, it's a lot for a single attack. Heroic Feast. Food for one creature level. It cures and grants combat bonuses. So it's really good to feast up, because for this duration after we read this spell, we're getting these bonuses. So it's a great let's go be heroes thing before your characters go off with a bang. Mass Owl's Wisdom, which works just like Owl's Wisdom, but multiple targets, because it's another mass spell. Then there's Planar Ally. As lesser Planar Ally, but up to 12 hit die, so you can get a more powerful outsider to help you do things. Summon Monsters 6, which is great because it's more powerful for creatures to summon. Symbol of Fear. Triggered rune panics nearby creatures. So that's a real great way to make bad guys possibly retreat or suffer minuses before you fight them. Symbol of persuasion. Triggered rune charms nearby creatures. That charming creatures can help you do things. Here's another good one. Undeath to death. It destroys a die 4 hit dice of undead per level to a maximum of 20 die 4. So it can be up to somewhere between 20 to 80 hit dice worth of undead. You can just bam. So that's a real good begone undead creature. Then there's Windwalk. Almost said Windwall. Windwalk. You and your allies can turn vaporous and travel fast. So as long as there's no strong winds or anything, you guys can pretty much, you just look like strong wind blowing through an area. So it can help with travel. Or escaping. That helps too. Here's a teleportation spell called Word of Recall. What you do is you cast a spell at a designated location, and then somewhere between when you cast it to I think like a year, when you recast the spell, you and everyone that you initially cast the spell on teleport back to where you initially cast it. So if you know it's going to take like the party like 6 months to get to your location, your party only has like 7 months to get there, do this thing, and get back. This here, you can pretty much almost take your time getting there, do what you need to do, word of recall, and you guys are instantaneously back within time to finish whatever it was. So it's a very good spell, but it's tied to a single location. We'll cover more details when we go over the actual spell itself. Next is 7th level spells. And we're kicking it off with a powerful one, Blasphemy. It kills, paralyzes, weakens, or dazes non-evil creatures. So Blasphemy it's a bad guy spell. And depending on, I think it's like the level difference, depends on whether you're killed, paralyzed, weakened, or dazed. This here does like one thing or a bundle of things, and you kind of take what's worse. So Blasphemy is one of the spells you don't want to have cast on you, but it's real good for getting rid of good guys. Then we have Control Water, where you, Control Weather. It lets you change the weather in the local area you're in. So if it's super stormy and cloudy, you can get rid of those. If there's like a drought in the area, you can change the weather so it rains. So you can actually help people. Or accidentally cause problems. Mass cure serious wounds, and there's also mass inflict serious wounds. So it's just like the serious versions, but multiple people. I will state the mass cure spells are probably a lot better than the single one, because in my personal experience as a DM and as a player, there's been times where people are like, "Why are you casting the mass version? Just cast this level 4 version. You can get more out of it." It's like, that's only one person. So 4 die 8 plus 20 to this one person. Or you can cast, like, for instance, the Cure Serious Wound, the Mass Cure Serious Wounds, and it's 3 die 8 with the same bonus, but to a lot of separate people. Like, even the Cure Light one, which is a die 8 per person, you're actually doing overall more healing. Therefore, you don't have to cast a crap ton of spells. You can only cast like it once or twice, depending on what level the mass cure you're casting and how much people actually need healing. But it's like, what works out better, casting one spell that covers all your 3 allies, or casting 3 spells, one per each. Either way, you can end up benefiting the party, but one way is a more guaranteed way to actually get what you want without stressing the small things. The next spell is Destruction, which it kills subject and damages the remains. That is pretty decent because it's a be gone bad guy spell. So it's pretty effective. Dictum, it that kills, paralyzes, slows, or deafens unlawful creatures. So just like blasphemy, but it goes after non-lawful. So chaotic creatures have to worry about that. But it's a good way to get rid of a lot of bad guys. Was more often than not, bad guys are usually non-lawful, which pretty much means they're neutral, neutral or chaotic. So you can simply just got ya. The next one, Ethereal Jolt. You become ethereal for 1 round a level. That pretty much means that no one can really mess with you while that you're under the effects of that, because you're ethereal. So unless they have like ghost touch stuff or things like that, you're not actually going to care, because they can't actually hit you unless they have some means to affect the ethereal plane, which is easier said than done. Holy Word. It's the good version of blasphemy. It kills, paralyzes, blinds, or deafens non-good creatures. So as you can tell, clerics, once they get access to 7th level spells, get some insta-kill effects. And it's mainly based off of level differences. So like no matter what way you go, they can just literally mess a bunch of bad guys up. Then we have Refuge. It alters item to transport its possessor to you. For further clarifications, we would have to go to the spell itself. So when we get to those spells, Refuge will be gone over. But like it says, it alters item to transport its possessor to you, meaning whoever possesses it will most likely be able to come to you. That's a spell that I have never really used, and I have rarely seen anyone use it. Next, we do have Regenerate. Subject severed limbs grows back. It cures 1d8 damage with a +1 per level to a maximum of +35. So you can regrow stuff. For further clarification on like how long it actually takes or lasts and stuff, we'll cover that when we go over the spell. But it's a great way to actually make sure people, actually have their limbs and stuff back, or broken limbs. Then we have Repulsion. Creatures can't approach you, so it's kind of like one of those, no, I don't want to get you within, you can't get within a proximity of me because I have this spell active. So it's a great get out of jail free card on not wanting to interact with things. Then we have Greater Restoration, which is as normal restoration, plus it restores all levels and ability scores. So instead of some, it's all. So it's really good on that. Resurrection, the actual spell itself, which fully restores dead subject to full life. So it's literally just, you're alive. Limitations we'll go over when we go over the spell itself. Greater Scrying, which does X scrying, but it's faster and longer, so you can have more fun with it. Summon Monster 7, which is just like the rest of the Summon Monster spells, but this stuff on the 7th list. Symbol of Stunning. Triggered rune stuns nearby creatures, which makes them easy to deal with because they're stunned. Symbol of Weakness. Triggered runes weakens nearby creatures. That makes them easier to beat. Word of Chaos. Just like with Blasphemy, Dictum, and Holy Word, Word of Chaos kills, confuses, stuns, or deafens non-chaotic creatures. So it's a real great way to just mess with lawful characters. So just off the 7th level spells, there's a lot of I'm probably going to insta-kill you. Which, there is some slightly better spells coming up in the 8th and 9th level, but yet again, being able to have access to spells that if you're not this alignment, you suffer this penalty, which is conditions that make it easier to beat, all the way to insta-kill effects, is really, really great. That and being able to resurrect your allies is also really, really great. That is it for 7th level spells. So as you can see that the spell lists start getting slightly smaller and smaller. Like, the 9th level spells there's not that many of them. But then again, you don't necessarily need a high variety of spells to be effective. You just gotta know what spell you're prepping. For instance, for 8th level spells, Anti-Magic Field. It negates magic within 10 feet of you. What that means is any magical effect that comes within that distance stops working. Spells cast from outside of it do not affect you because it's a magical effect. It cannot reach into there. So if someone detonates a fireball 15 feet away, you don't have to worry about it because it's magical fire. So therefore, you just look at them like, really? It also means magical items don't work within there. So if someone runs up with a magical sword of epic badassdom, well, it's just a masterwork sword while they're within 10 feet of you. They have to either somehow survive long enough for the spell to run out of time, get out of the 10 feet, or just hope you decide to dismiss it so you can actually properly use your own effects within that radius. It is not centered on, I don't believe it's centered on you when you cast it. You just pick a zone and it's not. And its magic doesn't work within that 10 feet. So you can kind of just cast it and run in there and look at the evil magic user and go, you have to come in here to kill me because your magic won't work in here, silly magic user. Cloak of Chaos. It increases your AC, saving throws, and gives you a SR of 25 against lawful spells. Which pretty much means anytime a spells with a lawful descriptor, or it's a... Well, I can't remember if it has to be an actual lawful spell or the person casting it has to be lawful. It's one of the two. They have to beat that SR. If it's an evil creature trying to do something against you, you get bonuses to your saving throws. If it's trying to hit your AC, you get a bonus to your AC against it. So it's kind of like Magic Circle or Protection Against Evil. But this is Chaos instead, and it's a big bonus. There's a bonus to AC, saving throws, and an SR is pretty... And a high SR at that, is pretty good. Create Greater Undead. You can create shadows, wraith, specters, or devourers. So you can create some pretty powerful undead with this spell. Because Shadows, wraiths, and specters are incorporeal undead, meaning they can pass through things, and they're also like to go after stats, which pretty much means they'll defeat your enemy by simply draining their stats every time they touch them. So it's not an HP thing, it's a melee touch attack of I don't care how high your AC is. Here, I'm going after your touch, so not all of that stuff applies to your touch, so you're easier to hit, and I'm going after this stat here, and depending on what one of it is, depends on if it's going after like your constitution. I think wraiths go after constitution. I can't remember what shadows and specters go after, but I just know wraith kills you by just going after your con. Because if your con reaches 0, you're dead. Or if you're minus to your constitution, because every time you lose con, you lose hit points. You can end up dying just off that. Because if you go from like a 20 to a 12, you go from a +5 bonus to a +1 bonus, and that which means you lose 5 hit points per level. That right there, depending on what level you are, can be a lot of hit points. Then we have mass cure critical wounds, which is always good. So if people are still complaining that you're using mass cures instead of just a straight cure, like 8th level is the cure critical. So that's 8 minutes. That's 4 die 8 being hit for everyone. You can't please everyone, but yay. There is the inflict critical version too. Dimensional lock, which is teleportation and interplanar travel, is blocked for 1 day per level. So you can literally stop an area for being utilized for those purposes solely based on this spell, and again, it lasts for days. So no escaping or teleporting in. So no sneaky in that way. They have to come in the old-fashioned way. Discern location. Reveals exact location of a creature or object. So it's kind of like locate object, but it can work farther. So you can find things a lot easier. Next we have earthquake, which intense tremors shake to a 5-foot radius per level. I think it's like a max of like 80 feet or something like that. It might be higher than that, but it's pretty much for 1 round. An area violently shakes, so you can end up insta-killing a lot of creatures, destroying walls or cities or a building because you're just earthquaking it. So it's a great way to etch or sketch a location. Firestorm, which is a powerful fire spell because it does a die 6 fire damage per level, so that's really good. Holy Aura works just like Cloak of Chaos, but it works against evil creatures. So that same +4 to AC, saving throws, and SR 25 is right there. So that's a nice big bonus. Then we have Greater Planar Ally. It works just like the normal Planar Ally spells, but it's up to 18 hit dice, which is really, really good. Next, we have Shield of Law, which is just like, it's the law version of Holy Aura or Cloak of Chaos, but it works against chaotic creatures. Greater Spell Immunity. This is a really good spell because it works just like Spell Immunity, but up to an 8th level spell. So you can literally choose to like go, I'm going to be immune to Earthquake, or I'm going to be immune to Dimensional Lock, or I'm going to be immune to the Harm spell because let's not get hit by that. Summon Monster 8. Symbol of Death. Triggered rune slays nearby living creatures. So right there is a once it's triggered, you can instantly kill all living creatures. When I say living creatures, is undead creatures aren't affected by death effects because they're already dead. Constructs aren't affected either. But it's a great way to set a booby trap up, so if a monster tries to sneak up on the party when they're resting, it triggers that, and you get free XP because they just died. Symbol of Insanity. Triggered rune renders nearby creatures insane. That can be helpful, humorous, or flat out annoying because when I say nearby creatures, it literally means nearby creatures. So if a party member or party members are within the zone of effect, they go insane too. And because insanity causes creatures to react randomly, because they're not all there, because they're insane, creatures can become infatuated with doing random things like running away, focusing on just one person, hitting with a swing with their sword, but it's still inside the sheath, so it's not doing slashing damage. They're just doing reduced damage and just beating you to death with it. They just do random things. There's a complete list. Later on, in the later chapter of the series, we will be going over conditions such as insanity because, well, we eventually will get there. The last 8th level spells is Unholy Aura, which is the same thing as the Cloak of Chaos, Holy Aura, or Shield of Law, but it helps protect you against good things. So bonus to AC, resistance, SR25 against good spells. So it's the, I don't want good guys to beat me, so I'm going to do this. Yeah. So there's, again, some really good spells there. Good healing spells, good protection spells, and several damaging spells. 9th level spells. These are the last spells we're going to go over for the day. And they're all 9th level, so this is like the pinnacle spells for Cleric. There's Astral Projection, which projects you and companions onto the astral plane, so you can kind of visit there without actually visiting there. So real nifty, weird stuff. Energy Drain, which you hit a subject and they gain 2d4 negative levels. That can either extremely hinder or kill creatures, because if the number of levels rolled is equal to or greater than your level, you're dead. So for instance, if the person rolls an 8 and whatever they cast it on only has the equivalent of 6 levels, like a 6 hit die creature or a level 6 bad guy, because they got hit with 8 negative levels, they drop and they instant die, because nothing gets to live if it has no levels or hit die equivalent. So it's a real good to either straight up kill certain creatures or severely hinder them, because that's a -2 all die rolls per negative level, and you lose 5 hit points times the number of levels you lost in hit points. So there's a big hit there too. Next is etherealness. Yeah, etherealness. You can travel to the ethereal plane with companions. So it's kind of like a bigger version of plane shift, but more things like more people and for longer. So you get to play around with the ethereal plane. Then we have Gate. It connects 2 planes for travel or summoning. It's like you need like an archway for it. But it's pretty much is like you're opening a door between the plane you're on and the plane you want it to open to, which could possibly let you go to the plane, or if you're trying to actually summon something from there, it makes it easier. Then there's Mass Heal. Mass Heal works just like Heal, but it hits several people, and the maximum you can go to is a 250 instead of 150. So it's actually better healing, mainly because it also hits multiple people. So it's a really, really good 9th level spell to take. Implosion can kill one creature around for an equal to your number of rounds is equal to your level. Last time I remember reading the spell, but it's pretty much if they fail, they die. If they pass, they just take a lot of damage. But you pretty much boom, boom, boom. You can't hit the same creature more than once, but you can still get the chance to insta kill them with it. Because again, it's a 9th level spell, and because you have to have at least a 19 wisdom to cast a spell, it's a 9th level spell. You're looking at least a DC 23, not counting anything else you have to increase your the DCs for your spells. So it's still a decent level, a decently powerful spell. Does that get to your death? I mean, it's a death or lots of damage. Each way is great. Then we have Miracle, which is pretty much the same thing as Wish, but the thing is your deity gets to you're pretty much making a request to a deity to do it. So it's kind of like Saint Cuthberg, please grant a miracle of resurrecting this person here, or make a miracle so we just get there and like now. It's like pretty much just anything you would go I wish for, just you pretty much go please grant us this miracle. So it's like that. It's the holy version of wish. Then there's Soulbind, traps newly dead soul to prevent resurrection. I've actually done that to several players because they were treating resurrection like it was nothing because they weren't afraid of permadeath because they'll just pay the money to have someone resurrected. So I use that to go, you guys are being extremely stupid and constantly dying and treating it as like no problem, and then yelling at me when you never have the money to actually have the resurrection you want. Then there's Storm of Vengeance, which storm rains acid, lightning, and hail. So you can melt stuff with acid, electrocute it with electricity, and pulverize it with big chunks of ice. So that's a AoE. This area is going to not like you. Summon monster 9th. So just like I said with the other ones, it's the summon. You get to summon a monster, but you use a 9th level list. So the most powerful monsters you can summon come from there. The very last spell is True Resurrection. As a resurrection, but the remains aren't actually needed. You don't need a body. You just need something of them. A hair, a piece of nail, a drop of blood. You need a part of them, not the whole. And there's no actual time lapse, so you can go get the ash. Well, not the ashes of some ancient hero. Take them somewhere, have them true resurrected, and boom, you resurrected a hero from like thousands of years ago. So there's a lot of powerful spells. So if you've ever played a cleric and you feel that your spells aren't quite doing it, because people are just delegating you to only healing and stuff, just remember that once you hit certain levels, you're going to have the same damage output as the wizards and sorcerers when it comes to artillery spells or AoE spells. You're also, once you get to a point, you're going to get access to instant kill effects. Not just super healing, like the mass healing spells, but some really good spells. So next week, hopefully my co-hosts are able to actually join us. We're going to be talking about druid spells. Druids do get up to 9th level spells, just like clerics. There's clerics, druids, wizards, and sorcerers get up to 9th level spells, while we did bards first, and they only got up to 6th level spells. Rangers and paladins only get up to 4th level spells. But next week we're going to be starting on druid spells. So thank you for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will catch you next week as we discuss more spells.